Hey y'all, Patrick here. I'm with the multi-instrumentalist genius man of the hour, the Bob Ross of music.
Oh, that's a good one.
You like that one?
That's
Mr. Adam Neely.
Ooh, I like Bob Ross and I like music. Woo! What camera am I looking to? All right, I'm gonna look at all of them. Sweet. Yeah. Cool.
So, what's up, man? How are you?
I'm doing great. This is the last day of this Gearhead University thing, and I'm exhausted.
Same.
Not as hungover today, because I was editing last night and I got a video out, but I'm going to be drinking tonight, and it's going to be great. I've made some great new friends. I'm very happy that I was part of this and got to meet you and got to meet everybody, and I'm very inspired by this whole thing, so yay.
It's crazy, isn't it? We're making videos on the internet, and now, hey, we're in Germany all together.
Yeah, and it's weird. Like, oh yeah, we're all flying to this random place, and and it's this crazy wonderland of pick up every instrument that you can possibly find. Like I was just like in the brass section. I learned how to play trumpet just now.
Hey.
I learned how to play trumpet. I learned how to play the lick on trumpet. And Sarah Longfield, who is somebody who doesn't play trumpet, picked it up and learned how to do it within about, I'm going to say, like 5 seconds of first picking up the trumpet. Anyway, she's a freak. But yeah, it's wild.
It's cool because there's so many different musicians here who play so many different kinds of music.
Yeah.
Too, which is the crazy and also cool part. There's
definitely like a metal contingent here, but then there's like also subsections of the metal contingent, and then there's. It's interesting, like how just because we're part of this YouTube community, it doesn't really matter what music we're making. It's just like we're here to make videos, and it's kind of fun as a means of cross-pollinating musical ideas, musical styles, just to come together and make stuff with it, which is fun. Yeah. It's great.
So with your channel, it's not gear related, and quite a bit of times it's not even bass related, and that's I think one of the most interesting things about your channel that I've really noticed is you've just really made it into something completely different, where it's music related, but in such sometimes a technical sense, sometimes just the simplest sense of being with other musicians and seeing their other outlooks on things. So what are you trying to, like, I guess, go from here with your channel?
Yeah, so on my channel I do a bunch of, we would call them video essays, which is basically the equivalent. Yeah, it's kind of, I'm trying to make a point with a video. So I'm making like a video about music, but I'm trying to like argue a thesis. And it's like, oh my God, I'm in like an English class now all of a sudden. But it's becoming a very popular way of communicating, and I wanted to do that for music because there's not that many people. There are some people now who are starting to do this sort of thing, but it's a very popular format on YouTube. And I started doing like more deep sort of dives into a variety of subjects, like weird things involving combination tones, which is whenever you play two notes at the same time. Like, for example, your ear will subconsciously take the difference between the two of them and create another note in your head. And that's like a wild sort of thing. Like, oh my God, like this is a G and a D, so the combination tone between these two, you can't really hear it that well on this like acoustic bass, but if I was to play this several octaves higher on a piccolo, you would hear a note 2 octaves down from this G, and it'd be like, oh wow, that's crazy. It's actually 1 octave down. Anyway, so I get really excited about these really weird subjects, and I get obsessive about them.
Yeah.
And I get like, this is my life now. And meanwhile, the bass sits in the corner. But I try and like combine all of like the excitement that I have for all these subjects that I'm into, weird subjects, into the video essay format. And so that's something that I've really been doing with this channel, is getting it to that level where the video essay is able to communicate these ideas with other people and hopefully share with other people the excitement I feel about music. And we were talking the other night about like, some of these video essayists for like film theory and like other stuff, they don't put out that much content like on a weekly basis or whatever, because it takes a very long time. Like somebody like Lindsay Ellis releases not that many videos per month, but when she does the videos, they're these really long documentaries. And so eventually I'd like to like make music documentaries about like really weird subjects.
Like good 30, 40-minute videos, pretty much.
Yeah, eventually.
Over a subject.
Yeah, eventually. I'm working my way there, but I do other things on my channel, like gig vlogs, where I'll be doing a gig. I'll go to a gig. I'll be playing with a band. I'll be playing with somebody in New York City or somewhere else, and I'll document the process. I'll take a camera, a DSLR, and be like, "Hey guys, we're here at wherever, what restaurant we're playing at," or something like that. So there's 10 people in the audience, but because I tell a story with it, it becomes a lot bigger, and I'm able to share with other musicians the experience of going on the gig. So that's kind of the idea of my channel. Is actually kind of two ideas: weird video essay stuff, and then gig vlog stuff. And why I was invited here is anybody's guess, but I think it's I've been having a lot of fun hanging out with other YouTubers because I can sneak in here and I can go on everybody's channel and everybody comes on mine, and it's this whole thing that's a nice cross-pollination of people and personas.
Yeah, from all over too. Yeah, and I think it was the first day you were just. I didn't see you stay in one place at all the first day you were here. You were running back and forth constantly, and you had your camera ready to go. And then you would go up and ask people, "Is gear important?"
Yeah.
So, to you, is gear important?
No. But that's a personal decision of mine to not worry so much about it. And I completely understand it, especially playing some of the basses here. I can completely understand the idea that somebody would make that your passion, because the amount of work that goes into some of these amazing instruments is just unbelievable and undeniable, really. So for me personally, no, but I wanted to get a bunch of different perspectives from different people on just what exactly they thought. And, I got the gamut from no, it doesn't matter at all, from Trey from Gear Gods, which was hilarious, and then Henning, which of course, gear matters, but everybody had a really thoughtful answer, which is fantastic, and I love that.
It's questions like that were just really interesting, especially you being able to, you saw the opportunity, hey, there's all these people who are musicians in one way or another making videos about music, and just find out all their different opinions like that.
Yeah.
Have you ever asked a question in the same sense to someone and just got an answer that just baffled you? That was completely different than anything that you had heard up to that point?
I got a pretty interesting one from Glenn, although it didn't really. I asked the question. He was giving an answer about studio gear, so I couldn't use that, and it was just left field. And it was a very thoughtful answer about you want to maximize your time, and so you shouldn't worry about gear if you're low on time and low on money. And it was this idea in terms of a very practical approach rather than the more philosophical general approaches that everybody was doing. So I guess that's the only time that was a surprise, not because it wasn't thoughtful and I understood where he was coming from, but most of the time I think just talking with fellow musicians, we're all very similar in temperament, or at least ideas about things. It's difficult to, and especially if we're doing YouTube, we kind of understand just the daily experience of that. So there's never been anything that's completely out of left field, although I've gotten some great gems that I wouldn't have thought of before.
Yeah.
So Sarah Longfield said something about gear is it'd be great if you had all the colors to paint with, but a good artist would be able to paint with just yellow and blue. And I'm like, that's perfect.
Well, yep.
Soundbite, that works. Love it.
And it's questions like that are really cool because it does give you all those different perspectives at once. But with some of the stuff that you do, it's really fun to have those limitations. Like the video that you made, I think it was the tiny little Beat Buddy Casio keyboard thing that was the little, had the rap beats on it and everything. That it was a 10-minute video over that and how you could use it. And just the limitations that you can have from certain things make you work more with your brain to say, okay, what can I do with this?
Yeah, and it's different depending on what you're dealing with. For me, that sort of thing actually works and is more applicable usually to technology, I would say electronic instruments and things like that, because at the end of the day, guitars and basses are very simple instruments, and they're just various grades of color within the simple design, and you can get all these different hues and shades within it. And of course, for me personally, it's how the instrument feels more than how it sounds, personally for me. But like then with technology, when you're doing like really limited things, like, you know, a little wrap toy thing like that, it's fun, like really trying to figure out how that works versus how like Ableton Live works with all of its incredible like
endless options and everything.
You can do anything in a modern digital audio workstation, and that's kind of the problem. You can do anything, but you just can't figure out. Just sitting there at the screen, sitting there in the box, it can be very difficult to say, where do I go from here? When you have a cheap toy, there's only so many things. Well, I could press this button or this button. I like this button better. All right, we're going with that.
We'll start with that and build from there.
Exactly,
it's like
man. Yeah.
It's like getting a Spotify account.
Yeah.
And you're like, I can listen to whatever I want, and then because you have so many options, just I don't know what I want to listen to at all.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the problems with that's the big thing with Spotify is like, then the algorithm decides what you're going to listen to based upon your things, and people love that. And I am so suspicious of that. My taste being dictated by previous things that I've listened to. So I'll be listening, and the algorithm doesn't know what the hell I want to listen to, because I'll be listening to Easley Blackwood's microtonal etudes, followed by Lean on Me, followed by like I don't know, Tesseract or like some gent thing, like one after
where it can
the
just
other.
go completely out of left field.
And so that's an interesting thing of like how how taste is run in weird ways by the algorithms. And of course we're YouTubers. Our algorithm robot overlord controls all, sees all. It is the one thing that feeds us. But that's just something that I think the algorithm is meant to rectify that situation where there is too much to try and choose from. So it tells you what to choose from, which I don't think is the good way of thinking about it. I think it would be nicer if we had, maybe I don't want to be too much of a Luddite right now, but anyway, I'm very suspicious of the whole thing.
It's like I was going through a humongous just throwback week. It's like, man, I'm gonna go through all like the early 2000s music like my middle school phase.
Yep.
And then I had the Discover Weekly, and it's like, here's more middle school stuff. It's like, no, like that was just a week of listening to that. It wasn't even a full week; it was a couple days.
Here's more Korn and Limp Bizkit, which is fantastic. But
keep on rolling, baby.
I can only probably do a week of that. Week at a time. Week every month.
Oh yeah, it's nice to like listen to it, but then it's just, all right, I'm ready for something new. I do like the Discover aspect because there have been quite a few things where I have been introduced to so many things, but at the same time, I can only get so much of the same sort of type of instrumental math rock.
Yeah,
so I'm just
exactly.
Okay, I'm a little. Can we do like a no thank you block on that genre for a little bit?
I was talking to this guy, and I try to be more social because I'm not the most social person, but I was talking to this person at a bar. The first time that I've like ever just been at a bar alone, there was a guy next to me, and I just started talking. Maybe it's not the first time I remember, but but he was saying, Spotify Discover is so great. I've discovered so many bands that I would never have, and I agree with that. Like that definitely has happened. But then I asked him, like, have you ever paid for any of their music? And then he said, no, I would never do that. And I was like, all right, why would you never do that? So what good is it for like the person that you're actually like making the music for or whatever? And it was an interesting thing just talking to this guy and the idea of like this Spotify Discover, just how like social attitudes have changed towards paying for music because of that. And it was an interesting discussion, and I was really like, trying to bait him into doing some, like saying some things that were like, like how much was that beer right there? That was $8. How much have you ever when was the last time you spent $8 on a thing? I was being kind of a dick. Anyway, so yeah, I am very suspicious of the whole thing, but how about this? Not for me.
No, yeah.
And for other people, they can do whatever the hell they want.
And I can totally agree with that mentality, because it's one of those things where, especially if he sort of scoffed at the idea of, pay for this? No, it's one of those things where you can only go so far before just, hey, I'm not going to change your mind. So
yeah, and he was plastered and hitting on the bartender, and she wasn't having any of it. So I was kind of anyway.
So that was a great individual.
Good night. Yeah.
And so with like the way, where do you think? It's crazy because we're part of a generation that's seen such a shift in how music is made, how it's just, you can now record full albums in your buddy's, house, in your buddy's next room with so little.
Yeah.
And as long as you can get a good mix or master on it, then it can sound just as great.
Yeah.
And so where do you think, with all the stuff that we're seeing, especially with distribution and like merchandise that like sells or doesn't sell, do you think, I don't know, it's better or worse to be a musician at this time?
I think it's better, or maybe it's not even better, it's just different.
Yeah.
So I think it's just changing, and people are very much caught in the old idea that the recorded music that they make is worth something. And I believe it should be worth something, but I don't think it is to anybody else. And this story with the drunk guy at the bar is kind of like evidence of it. So in order to survive, just by not judging, just what we need to do, it has to be a lot more about the musician as a personality or the musician as a brand, I think. So somebody will connect with your music because of who you are and how you're presenting your music, rather than just listening to the music itself. And of course that, people are like, oh, it should be all just about the music and you should judge it based on that. But it's much more about having a personal connection between artist, creator, and fan. And it used to not be that way.
Because they didn't need it to
be
that way.
There was a middleman, there was the record industry. And the record industry served a function in terms of distribution. Now that distribution has been shifted to tech companies, so there's a much different model between the musician and the person listening. There's the tech company intermediating, but the tech company says, all right, you as a musician or you as a person need to tell a story with yourself and be a personality and engage people that way. And that's the way that we're going to be able to monetize what it is that you do. So musicians can do this, of course, through YouTube, Patreon, sponsorships. There's all different kinds of ways that you can monetize yourself, and touring a little bit.
Yeah.
But that's definitely going to be the wave of the future. And we're weirdly at the cusp of it. I never really thought that I would be at the cusp of anything. Right? And like, what the hell,
And
man?
it's a continually changing, like industry in itself. It's just, we're both musicians and YouTubers. It's pretty much, you have to be willing to do multiple things. Like I want to be willing to not only learn my instrument, but I need to learn how to make videos, make them entertaining.
Yeah.
Edit the audio on top of that. I need to market it. All these different aspects now. You can be a musician, but now to really try and push yourself more and to get yourself out there, you have to be doing so many different things now.
Of course. I was talking to Glenn Fricker, and there are really three things you have to do. You have to do video well, you have to do music well, and then you also have to record well, just at the bare minimum for what we do, which is slightly different than what the average musician would be doing, because the average musician might not be taking this visual media route, because we're engaging people with visual media rather than purely auditory media. But yeah, we all have to be polymaths. We all have to be Renaissance men and women and other. We all have to be like everything. We have to be Leonardo da Vinci now. But I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that's just another way of thinking about what it is that we do. And it's the sooner that you embrace that fact, the better, because then you don't feel resentful that you have to do everything. I'm glad to do everything. In fact, I don't want anybody else to do anything because I'm very particular.
I am the exact same way too. Where it's just and I know some guys, they simply are just, okay, I finished my video, send it off to an editor. But in the editing, it can be completely different products with the exact same footage. You give the same footage to 3 different people, you're going to get 3 completely different stories. It has the power to do that. And so I am very much the same way, where it's just, I want to have this control over it, because this is how I want my art to be perceived.
Yeah, because the video editing process is very much an artistic process in one way. I think so, because I try and push myself in that way, and then it becomes a whole voice, an additional voice with which I can speak beyond just my droning baritone. I can also just have another voice in there, and humor can come out there. I can be wittier through my editing than I am in real life. So I think that the video editing is very important, and it's something that anybody can learn. I just started learning video editing like a couple years ago. Just opened up Final Cut, actually iMovie, and just like, what does this do? And then just like refined it over a long period of time. And that's usually what everybody does, just kind of like cobble together a technique.
Exactly. And then you just find your own like way of doing things. What works best, what doesn't work best, and you just learn from there. Like you learn always from your mistakes.
Yeah, for sure.
So, little bit offbeat. What's like the craziest thing, or I guess say one of the most eye-opening things you think you've experienced when it comes to YouTube or just being a musician?
Well, there's so many things. For whatever reason, the thing that came to mind was sometimes YouTube does these like business development courses where they bring in a bunch of YouTubers from every vertical, they call them. I would say from every genre, like fashion vloggers, fitness vloggers, gaming vloggers, and they put us all in a room and did all these courses about how to treat this as a business. And I was like, I don't know anything about business, so this is great. But it was amazing just talking to them because they were all in the same wavelength. They were all very much driven to create something and thinking about everything that we do as musician YouTubers just for a different sort of thing. And a big thing that I talk about on my channel is just the interconnectedness of everything.
Oh yeah.
Everything is this same thing. And I don't want to say that flippantly. I don't want to say that like as some sort of Buddhist aphorism or something like that, because it's easy to sound like that when I'm saying this sort of thing, but very much the process is the same. The thing doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And that was really exciting, just because there are a bunch of people I would not think that I would have anything in common with. And I had a ton of things in common. It's the same thing here with the YouTube community and just like slightly different genres of whatever. And
but here you're talking to, a fashion vlogger or a photographer who has his own channel. But you're like, oh, we do a lot of the same things with just different subjects.
When's your upload date? How do you edit your videos? Yeah. Adobe or like Premiere or Final Cut?
Yeah, show each other all the shit-talking comments.
It's like, like, do you do Q&A videos? Yeah.
Yep.
Like, what microphone do you use? All right, boom. Like,
all that, yeah. It's crazy because this didn't exist 5 years ago. The format was completely different.
Yeah.
It's just YouTube was a completely different place 5 years ago, and wherever it'll go 5 years from now, too.
Oh, man, who knows where it's going to be. The thing that I've been sounding the alarm on, although I don't think it's actually going to happen anytime soon, is Twitch, the arrival of like adopting this sort of thing for a live stream format. And it hasn't really arrived yet for music. There are a lot of, they call them request channels, so people will like type in the comments requests and then the musician will play them. But it's more difficult to do other kinds of content live streamed. Gaming works beautifully live streamed.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, I could, and I've live streamed before on my channel, like me practicing for 5 hours, me playing the lick for 5 hours. There's all these like dumb stunts I can do, but I can't make a career at it. But I think our tech overlords at some point are going to force us to figure out a way of making it work. But things change so quickly, quickly, and this is ephemeral. We are all stardust. And I'm just along for the ride because I did not think I would be here.
Right? It's the craziest, weirdest, and most fun and terrifying thing at once. Yeah. Because I never thought I would get invited to go to Germany and hang out with all these musicians who are way better than me. But, I mean, that's the way YouTube life goes, I guess.
I had a thing somebody told me, one of my teachers told me, when I was first learning bass, is like you always want to be the worst musician in the room because that's the way that you get better. And I always like being among a lot of people who are really, really highly talented because it elevates the bar.
Absolutely.
And I like being in that situation.
I mean, that's definitely what I am here, so it works very well. But Adam, thank you so much, dude. I appreciate it, man.
Of course.
Thank you to Tomon University and everyone here. You guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all next time. My man.